Good morning. So I've already exercised for the morning. I'm already stretched out, so I'm like ready to tackle the day. I don't have my French class today. I'm I don't know why, but like the teacher can't make it. So I'll have some more time in the afternoon to work on my novel. That's how I'm choosing to look at it. I used to have my swimming lessons, my lessons, and I'm kind of I'm excited about it. I think I've been excited to exercise lately, which is an interesting improvement because like when you're excited to do things, you have more energy to do that. They end up having more of an effect. So I'm happy about this. I'm happy about like the circumstances they're leading to me kind of like doing things in my life. Enjoy. I've already made some plans for Friday morning and the beginning of the afternoon, and it is interesting because basically, I don't know, it's going to be something simple, but I'm excited about like what can happen. And I'm planning already for December, having my little tour of supermarkets and grocery shops. I think that I had one in November. I'm going to have another one in December, and it is interesting because it's something so simple that brings me so much joy, and I want to do it more. I want maybe like once a month I can do this. Like I don't spend that much, so it is something that it's kind of like sustainable. Like all things considered. But yeah, so today I'm going to be focusing on my writing, my novel, and I'm going to start because yesterday we went out, so I didn't really have the opportunity to start my new strategy. So I am starting it today, and I'm excited about that. I think that I'm going to, even if I can 100%, like do whatever, like I can still make some progress, and that's what I want to be making a little progress, some progress every day, because like even if it takes longer, like I will get to the finish line this way. It can be slow and steady. I think that steady might be the more important part, but it's still something something to consider, something. I don't know why I just had like these memories from my trip with my mom and my grandma to Rio. It was a really fun time. I really enjoyed it, and once again it was just a few days, but like it had a very positive like effect on my mental health, on like my well-being. I really enjoyed it, and as I mentioned before, sometimes like it is the small things that you do on a daily basis that really like they add up. So like there's that. But today, what I wanted to talk about, I want to continue talking about the whole being proactive thing, but also radical acceptance. Like the fact that I wanted to be more experienced than I was when I was younger. I think this carries on to this day. I'm still kind of like interested in having different experiences. The difference is that like right now I'm kind of like making things happen. Like which was not really what was my situation. Like some years ago. So yeah, like I want more experiences, and I'm making sure that they happen, and that is in itself, like it's a bit of a challenge because, as I said, like there are some opportunities that they don't just appear out of nowhere. Like you have to be connected, you have to like put yourself out there. So like basically, what I'm trying to say is that I have this different situations happening in my life, and I think it is in my best interest for me to just seize these opportunities, even if they're not exactly what I want, because it is through these connections that first of all, like you have like established connection between you and other people, but also where things may appear. So I am kind of like more invested in I don't know, like you do things, even if like honestly, like it doesn't have there's no need for for there to be a point to like what I'm doing. Like I don't. I mean, sometimes like you look back and you're like, okay, so this happened. This is kind of like the point of it, but that is doesn't like you don't really need a point. Just your enjoyment is kind of like good enough reason to kind of like for you to just like for you to make things happen. And yeah, so basically that, because enjoyment is kind of like the key to living a good life. Naturally, like not everything is going to be enjoyable. Like we all have challenges and problems and issues to kind of like address, but whenever it is possible for me to make myself enjoy my life, I will be making an effort, because like as I said, like it ends up adding up. Lately I haven't really been having like my fantasies, my delusions of grandeur of like me wanting things to happen, because I'm fully contented with like what I have. And this is an interesting it's an interesting feeling, more like a lack of that that feeling, because for so long and it's so often I have, like I'm not happy with where I am at, and so that's why like I'm fantasizing about things. So being in a situation where I can kind of, where I'm just, content, like that is huge for me, and I'm really happy that that is, like where my head is at. Naturally, I want to continue this, but like there's no indication that this will be like, me forever. But to what extent I can make things occur, I kind of, I want them. I want things to happen. But back to radical acceptance, I have to kind of like accept that, like in the past, I didn't really have as many experiences as I told myself that I had. I kind of like ended up embellishing, like my stories, and it was kind of like just that. And it took me so long for me to be able to be at this point where I'm kind of like just rejecting those notions. And even then, like I haven't fully. There's some things that they still, like it's still kind of like hard for me to, fully embrace. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that it goes back to the fact that like your feelings are valid. It's just the way that you kind of like go about things that can, that can be the problem. So like you're feeling something, it's okay as long as you don't let that, get in the way of like you being honest with yourself. So basically, as I said, like I felt really bad. I felt like very inadequate when I didn't really have certain experiences. Although it is funny because I think about when I was, a teenager in high school, and how there were certain things that I was like actively avoiding. But then, some years later, by the time like I graduated high school and I was in, my first years between, high school and college, I kind of like I rewrote those stories so that I could have, like a good, so that I could, like frame my life in a certain way. And as I said, like there's a lot of like things that are not really real, and right now I'm able to try and like confront them. But for so long, like that was kind of the case, like that was the truth I was living. And it is interesting because when I look back and I'm like, okay, so what exactly does this mean? Like, why did I want this to have happened? Why did I lie to myself about it? Like why was I kind of like pushing these lies? And I think that in experience, naivete, being gullible, like all those things were, I kind of like was a little guilty of displaying some of those traits, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really enjoy being put on the spot like that. As I said, it made me feel that I was inadequate, and I was like not in regarding like my life and where I was supposed to be. So it is interesting for me to like finally be free. I don't have not being kind of like shackled to all these different expectations that I had. I can just do my own thing and be happy, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with like the way that things happen in my life. There's nothing wrong with the things I didn't do. Like naturally I wish some things had happened and like they didn't, but ultimately I want to accept myself as I was, which involves like me accepting that certain things didn't happen even though I really wanted them to have happened. And I feel like sometimes I'm embarrassed about things that I haven't done, or even like by the time things happen, like if I felt like I should have already, I think it should have been earlier, like things should have happened some years before. And I think that trauma is important to bring up because in some ways my trauma was kind of like getting in the way of like me engaging with things. I'm just so, I don't know, like maybe I should be grateful that like certain things didn't happen, because there are risks associated, and like the fact that it didn't occur, it means that like I wasn't really putting myself in dangerous or risky situations, and it's interesting because like I did have at some point like the opportunity to make some of these things happen, and I think about some of like the times that I kind of like rejected the opportunity was right there, and I say no, even though like I might have wanted to, or maybe I didn't want at the time, but then later on I kind of like went back on it. But basically I don't know, like sometimes money is a huge one that I think about it, like when it comes to like me saying yes or no to things, because I was basically I don't know, like and that's the thing, like I mean, can I look back and be glad because I didn't spend money on those things, but I spent it on something else. Was the thing that I spent money on like worth it? Was it like what I really wanted? And right now I can look back and the whole radical acceptance thing, and I don't regret anything, but at the time I kind of like felt like I missed opportunity, and it is worth those things. It's okay for me to admit that like I'm not knowledgeable about some things. I think that I'm more like book smart than like street smart, and like that's okay. That it has to do with like my experiences and my life. Like that is my reality, and naturally I want to develop like some street smartness, but it is okay that at those points that wasn't me. There's nothing wrong with that. I was very like that was my lot in life. Like that is how like I was raised, and as I said, I want to embrace the reality of what what was, as opposed to what I wanted to be, what I wanted it to be. And I know I say this a lot, but I think that every time I say this, I'm kind of like trying to affirm to myself that that is the case, like because it takes a little effort for me to look back and not feel like negative feelings about like my life. And I mentioned this before, like I think that the best way for me to go about this is kind of like learn from those situations, learn from my mistakes, so that I don't make them anymore, so that when by the time this decade is over, I can, when I say decade, that doesn't necessarily mean like the 2020s. I mean it could be the 2020s, but like also like the next decade for me, by the time I'm 38, I want to look back and be happy about the things that I have done, and feel fulfilled. I want to feel fulfillment of some sort. And it is very important that for me to just on a daily basis kind of like assess how I'm doing, because this is going to be the key to my success, basically, to like me succeeding the things I'm establishing for myself. It goes through like me learning from the past and making sure that there is some weight to the things that didn't happen, or things that happened the way that they did, because that weight is what makes me kind of like what makes me currently not really go through the same situations, not have the same regrets. But yeah, so I have been, I feel like for the most part, it really feels like right now that I'm stable, that I have accepted everything. But it remains to be seen, because it's only when I have like when I'm not so stable, when I go through an episode, that I'll be able to look back and see whether I'm fully supportive of like what has happened, because it is like the nature of things, for like for your opinion on stuff to change depending where you are at. So if I'm like up here, I think that I might discount the situations that make me frustrated. When I'm down here, I might overplay them. They might have more of a weight, they may kind of like drag me down. So basically what I want is for even when I'm like going through an episode, for me to be able to how do I put it? For me to have clarity, that it is okay that certain things have happened, and it is okay that my inaction, at some points, my passiveness at some point, it's okay, because I'm learning from that, and I'm not letting that happen in the future. Also, like the thing about passiveness, I've kind of like learned that sometimes it is good for you to hold back your tongue, for you to like not engage with things, and I think I've been able to do that increasingly more, and it is an interesting feat for for me, at least, like considering like how I've been like in life, that I can kind of like step away and not engage. That is, I think some people, they kind of like, they're afraid of confrontation, so they naturally move away. But for me, I'm more prone to being aggressive, so it is pretty good when I can kind of like, I'm going to overlook this, I'm going to like ignore this, because sometimes like that is the best way for you to, for your well-being. It's better for you to just not engage with certain prompts that you have in our life. So it is interesting that I don't know, like that I'm able right now to kind of like walk away, like that doesn't, I feel like that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it is, to me, for me, being able to kind of like not engage when there is, like as I said, there's like some bait and switch. It's been kind of like pretty relevant, and it makes me more confident about my future, like my future well-being. It makes me confident that like I can that like things are going to work, things are going to work out one way or another. Maybe they're not going to happen the way you want them to. It's not going to be like as interesting, and yeah, maybe things are not going to be like as interesting as you kind of like want them to be, but like peace is important. Basically, I want to keep my peace, I want to maintain peace, and I want that to be one of my priorities, over like me having the last word, or like me trying to explain something, trying to change people's perspectives. And I think that, as I mentioned before, I'm doing pretty well in that regard of like just looking away, and I'm happy. Like I truly am happy with like my reality. I don't feel weak anymore when it comes to like me stepping away, which is a huge development, because feeling weak is like one of like the big things that is kind of like a no for me. It's like something that like impacts the way that I'm acting, and naturally like my version of strength these days is different from what it was when I was 18, which is normal. Like you live more, things happen more, and as a consequence you kind of yeah, like you adapt, you adjust. So as I said, like my vision of what it was when I was 18 is different from now, and that is a good thing. Basically I feel like 18-year-old me will look at me these days, and I will feel like I'm weak, because as I said, I'm trying to keep my peace, which involves like not necessarily engaging with things, but the most important thing is that I am doing well, that like I'm living life. And I think that there is some strength in like not engaging, because like that does take effort. So there is a strength in like looking away sometimes. And as I said, when I was younger, like I used to really feel like I had to put myself through things in order to feel strong, and that was just really bad for my mental health. So like right now, I'm like looking away, and I'm happy and proud of myself for doing that, because this means that I am strong to some capacity. And as I said, so like I still want to be strong, but I want to have a healthy understanding, like, because I think my understanding prior to like this past few years, like it was very toxic, like it was very self-destructive, and I don't want to be self-destructive. Like, I mean, I think that that's just accepting that I've done things in the past that were kind of self-destructive. It's kind of like big for me, because for so long, like I was very convinced in what I was doing. I was very sure of the way I was carrying myself. And right now I look back and I'm like, it was the naivete of like youth. I'm still young, I know, but when you're 18, you were like an adult teenager, because like nothing really changes from like 17 to 18. Like life happens, and like you have new challenges and all that, but ultimately your head is still developing, it's still kind of the same. And that's nothing wrong with that. Like that is just the weight of like that phase of your life, that stage, that era. And things change the older you get, and that's just that. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think I think I was wrong in some ways when I think about like when I was 18, the way I was approaching things. Like it wasn't necessarily right, but like not right in like a good or bad way, but more in a like adequate, well adapted, well adjusted way. And it is an interesting thing for me to just be like, yeah, like that was me at a time, and that's okay. Also like I've been having like different memories from when I was 2016, 2017, when I was 18 and 19, and it is interesting because I feel like I've been discounting a lot of what's happening, and like right now I'm thinking of like more things, which I think is what I need, for me to feel like my life hasn't been wasted away. So it is interesting for me to look back and be like, there was more that was going on than sometimes I have allowed myself to think, which I think is like me healing. This is just like myself, with like me with dealing with myself, and just being like, yeah, like that happened. And I think I need this for me to have a fully a healthy understanding of my past, and for me not to feel so shitty about those years. Because there was an effort that I was making, and it was worth it. I don't know if like it was worth it. I don't know if I can go that far. Maybe someday. But as of right now, I'm kind of yeah, like once again, like the past. It has no hold on me other than like me learning from like those past experiences, which is all that I want. It's all that I care about right now. Like I want to do better. As I said, I want more, and I think that the way to go is by kind of like acknowledging the past, also accepting the past. Accepting is harder, but it's worth it. When you get to the point where accepting, it is very worth it. Like your life changes for the better, and things they fall into place, and that's kind of like what I want for my current self and what I want for myself in the future. And also, like, it's not just, I don't have to have like this large periods of time, because I'm looking back at like the past decade, and I mean separating in different categories, in different moments. But I don't, for example, if today I things don't work out as well, like I don't have to wait a decade for now for me to do better. I can learn from like every day. I can improve from the things that are not working out, and I can adapt. I think adaptability is very important, and I think I want to I want my response time to be better. I don't want, for example, to get to the end of the week to be like, okay, like this didn't work out. I want like on a daily basis. I want to adjust as things happen, and I think there's a very reasonable thing for me to want. I think it's very doable. Naturally, sometimes some projects they're more long term, so like it would take a little bit longer for you to figure it out. But whatever is possible, I want to change on a daily basis. Sometimes not even like on a daily basis, on an hour basis. If I try this today and it didn't work out, like let me try something new tomorrow. Let me try something like different before it's too late. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a too late in life, because you're always you're constantly changing, adapting. So you can always change. Like change is not really something that's reserved to youth. Like you can change at any time, and there's nothing. It doesn't necessarily mean that who you were before is wrong. It's okay for you to have been that person, for you to have had those priorities. And it is life basically. Like it's a constant journey. It's a journey that never ends, and I think that instead of feeling like insurmountable, like, because when you look at it like that, it's just like so there's so much to do. But if you can break it down in like smaller parts, so that every day is a new journey. Every day is like the beginning and the end of something, that every the end of your days can be kind of like a destination. Just how you operate throughout like the day. But yeah, so basically I have been thinking about myself in the present, and I want like to do better like every day. I want to be able to pivot like on basically every day. I want if I see something's not working out, I don't want to waste any time in trying. Continue to try that, or to just ignore it. I want like to overcome my challenges, and I want like I want to look back, and I want not to regret things. I'm making good progress in that regard, but there's still, like, I think mostly 2016 and 17, like those are the years that I struggle a lot with just being reasonable about them, because there are like these negative feelings, and it is what it is. What happened, and like I feel like I'm repeating myself in some ways, but it's just like every time I say something, it's like I am affirming that like I'm just saying that to myself, and as a consequence like I'm adapting, like I'm learning, I'm absorbing that as the truth. So like it is very important for me to sometimes like really repeat myself, so that I come to accept it. It's kind of like that fake it till you make it. Like I'm just saying this, I'm saying it again and again, and that is how like I absorb like this reality. That's how I kind of like I come to no longer care about things, repetition. And yeah, so I think that is important. So anyways, bye.